How's it going, folks? Hope you are having a good day. We're going to be going over some of your opinions on 10th edition in this video, and it won't be a super long one because I've got tons of stuff to do today. I've got to get down to the hospital to see my grandpa in about an hour's time, so essentially I thought there's not a lot of work involved in this video. It's mainly you doing most of the work for me because you guys have shown me your opinions on 10th edition. We did one of these videos a little while ago where I asked you what your hopes and fears were for 10th edition going forwards and what you would have liked to have seen from what was going to happen with 10th edition. And since then, we have a lot more news coming out, and we even have a full leak of the full rules that are out there. And no, I probably won't cover them on the channel because I don't want to be that kind of a guy who spoils things and gets them out of there. You know, I want you guys to find things out when you're meant to find things out. Do you know what I mean? If you want to see them, then look for them. They're out there somewhere. I'm sure you can go and download them. But you won't see it on the channel, simply because, you know, I don't want to spoil things for you. And I don't want to be one of those guys who always jumps ahead before we get there. So, this is not going to take that into account. This is going to take what we've seen so far officially from Games Workshop. So, it's officially what they've told us in their releases, in things like that. This is what we've all read and what you guys think going forward. Some of this will be news to me, which is nice and exciting. But let's get into it, shall we? And I'm going to try and do every single one of you who replied, and we do have a lot of them here. So, I'll maybe here for a while, but anyway. ACD says, as a Horus Heresy player, I'm happy to see generalized keywords, as I think they help the game flow a lot more smoothly. I'm hoping to get back into 10th, as 9th became quite the foot slog to get through a game for me. Keep up the great content. Thank you very much. 9th was indeed a huge slog to get through. 9th was a game, and I am not ashamed to say, at the end of it, I felt like I'd been through an ordeal. And by the end of, say, turn 2, start of turn 3, I was ready for the game to be over. I should never feel that way about a game that I spent so much money on. That's just not how the game should work. So, yeah, I'm very much in the same boat as you. I do think that, you know, there are a lot of things in the game that needed to be streamlined, and keywords is one of those things that is going to bring a lot of rules into line, and is going to help us generally get through games a lot quicker. Now, a lot of stuff that they've been throwing out there has been not so, it's been smoke and mirrors, right? A lot of stuff that Games Workshop have been coming out with has been, look at this, look at how much it's going to quicken up the game. And then when you actually think about it, no, it isn't. It's just you put the rules in a different place for us to go and, you know, for us to read through. But keywords definitely will speed up the game. That's just as it is, right? If you don't believe me, go and ask Horus Heresy players how slow their games can be in the past, and they will tell you. Anyway. Raymond's Tactics, so Talkis says, I'm totally on board with 10th. I hope the core mechanics will be simple, and because if these games will be easy to play with new people, or with people who are not keeping up to date with all the details. I still think there will be an arms race. I still think that you will still need to be up to date with most of your rules to be able to be at the apex of gaming with 10th. I think that's just how it is. I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where, you know, 10th is not a, you know, 10th is a game that you can pick up the index for, or the data cards that you get at the start of the edition, and then magically you're now keeping up with everybody's rules as we're going forward. I just don't think that's how it's going to work out. And I think if you are going into the new edition thinking that, you're going to be disappointed when codexes start coming out and they rapidly start outpacing the rules that come out free with the 10th edition box set, or free online, right? So, if you want to keep it that balanced, I suggest that you do not use codexes in your local store or in your local group. You agree to not use codexes, you just use the data slates that you get at the start of the edition. If you agree to do that, then yes, you will be having a balanced game that anyone can pick up and play. But the arms race will begin with the release of that first new codex. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now. Alright. Dr. 3 says, 10th looks like a lot of fun. I was nervous at first, as I barely gotten to play 9th. However, this is my first time actively keeping up with Warhammer community posts, and I love what I'm seeing. Troops having abilities based on holding objectives seems really fun. I think I will buy in, and even try and keep up with the narrative campaign releases. This is the most engaged I've felt with 40k as a game. Brilliant, man. That is awesome. And I'm really glad that you're feeling that way as well. And please don't think that I'm here to like poo-poo the new edition and say it's rubbish before we've even played it. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to call out what I see as a bit of hypocrisy from Games Workshop sometimes, but also I will call out the positives when I see them. Each and every faction thing that we've seen so far has had cool, fun rules in it that everybody who plays those armies will be excited to get their teeth into. And that's exactly what we want going forwards, right? So it's great that this is the edition that you're choosing to jump in on. And I will say this for new players. I know there are a lot of veterans out there who are curmudgeonly and annoyed at most things that Games Workshop do. But for new players coming in, now is just the best time to get involved in Warhammer 40k. It really is. Because the amount of Warhammer community posts that we have, the accessibility that we have to rules and things that are coming out. Can you believe, like in 5th, 6th, 7th edition, there was nothing like this. The game would just drop, you know? And even then, they wouldn't make enough of it to go around. But the game would just drop. The new edition would just drop, and then that would be it, right? At least now we've got all this content and support going forwards for it, which is great. I just wish that we would leave the phenomenon of codexes behind. I don't think it's needed in the hobby anymore. But I'm really glad that you're looking forward to it. That's good. I'm really looking forward to this new edition. I just hope Night Lords and other legions get the same love their loyalist counterparts do. That will never happen, dude. Sorry, Claw, that will never happen. It should do, and I would do that. That would be one of the first things I would do if I ever came to power. Is that I would be giving all Chaos Legions, especially ones that aren't tainted by Chaos, some time in the sun. I swear to God, the ones that are tainted are the ones that are on the front of the box, or at the front and centre of Chaos, because they're easier to sell, right? They're easier to sell. They're easier to have this like big thing about them. It just is what it is. But yeah, I would honestly give Iron Warriors, Night Lords, people like that a much bigger say in the hobby going forwards. Definitely. Definitely. But it's not going to happen. It won't happen because they're not Saturday morning cartoon villains like the Death Guard are or the World Eaters are, right? That's just not who they are. And that is a shame, but that's just how it is, dude. I'm afraid. I'd love it if they spread this edition out more. Feels bad they only just came out with another 9th Codex. Yeah, this... that is a phenomenon that I had to deal with 7th, going into 8th. So... So we brought out the Imperial Agents book, Codex, literally months before 8th dropped. And there were so many people that were really hyped for that Imperial Agents Codex. That you could get their Assassins and the Inquisitors and all that. And they were really hyped for it. They loved it. They loved playing with it. And then all of a sudden, it's nuked. It's gone. It's gone from the current meta. It's gone from the current game of Warhammer 40,000. And that's it. And not only that, they then didn't bring out an Imperial Agents Codex for 8th edition. So that was it. Your army's dead. Excellent. Cheers, Games Workshop, right? So you had that Imperial... If you went with an Imperial Agents army, right? Like an Imperium Soup army led by Imperial Agents, you had that access to that army for like 3 months. Because that codex was out for 3 months, and then a new edition dropped, and that new codex is now not legal to be played in store with the new edition. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed spending that £30. You literally you spent £10 per month for access to those armies, to those army rules before Games Workshop kicked them out and got rid of them, right? And then never brought out any to replace them either. So yes, bullshit. I hate it. That's why codexes should go away and die in a fire somewhere. Steve says, "Hi North, I'm a relatively new wargamer and play Kill Team primarily. That's a really good way to get into the hobby, dude. That's a really, really, really good way to get started. I've avoided 9th because it looks like a confusing mess to me. You would be correct. 10th seems like to be making all the right noises about streamlining the rules, and my buddy and I are going halves on the launch box. Good, if we can get it. After sowing my wild oats on, with the wonderful variety of teams and factions on Kill Team, I'm ready to settle down and commit to a faction for Big Boy 40k. And I think those Tyranids have many, many a gnarled finger I can put a ring on, okay?" Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to skip a few of these because they're saying similar stuff, okay? Awesome. I'm going to skip a few of them. Kenneth says, "So far, I am liking where 10th is going. One thing that does annoy me is actually a portion of the community that goes nerfed to unplayable trash dumpster fire garbage literally every other faction showcase. Even though, at most, we've seen the army rule, the launch, the detachment rule, 2 datasheets, a weapon and a stratagem. Sometimes not even that, or we haven't seen important elements of armies that quite literally the rest of the army points or cost-wise, characters, etc. Yeah, I'm with you as well. I'm completely with you as well. I literally had this conversation with a friend just the other day. I was squeeing to him about Imperial Guard and how cool the new rules are. And he was like saying, well, you know, you do know that this is like a downgrade on 8th edition, on 9th edition, and, you know, it's not that great, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, mate, just fucking enjoy it, please. Like, have some joy in your life. Just enjoy what we've got, right? Enjoy the fact that we have, you know, new Imperial Guard rules, and they're keeping up with the meta and having really cool tanks and stuff like that. Don't math hammer it, okay? If you're not going to a tournament, don't get your calculator out. Don't start working on averages. That just sucks all the fun away from the game. I understand a few of you are a bit autistic and you can't help it. You know, you're and I mean that sincerely, because a lot of autistic people, they need to work this stuff out, you know, 'cause it feels good to them. That's fine. But if somebody else is expressing a love and a happiness about the hobby, don't shit on it with your math hammer. Don't come in there and go, actually, I think it's a minus 0.812% chance to... I don't care, dude. Shut up. Shut up. Like, no one cares. Like, I'm just here to enjoy the hobby, okay? I'm here to look at some cool tanks and say, that's some cool-ass shit. That's what I'm here to do. And if I think the new rules are really cool, then that's fine. You don't need to math hammer me and go, oh, actually, I think you'll find in 9th edition that they had an X1 0.7889 a chance to do anything. That fucking shut up. Shut your face, right? That I get, right? And normally those are the kind of people. My mate wasn't doing this, by the way. He was a very mild example of doing this. But those are the kind of people who will poo-poo something from the preview that we get. You know, you'll notice a lot of my reactions, and I think that's why some people watch me, is my reactions are very real. If I like something, I'll tell you, and if I think something's a bit overpowered or a bit much, I'll tell you. But as I say all the time, we've only got a little bit of the evidence in front of us, right? So yeah. FAS says, I'd like to talk about the psychic phase. I really like the dissolution of the psychic phase, and instead spreading out the different effects across different phases of the game. It makes sense to boost your own troops in the command phase, and smite foes in the shooting phase. Indeed it does. However, I don't think that smite should have been reduced to normal damage rather than mortal wounds. It is super fluffy to have these eldritch bolts of lightning slaying your foes, rather than having it bounce harmlessly off of armor. I agree. I agree. I am a big proponent of that. That shouldn't be normal damage. Anything that is like that, like a Hail Mary, like a psychic Hail Mary, should not be normal damage. Let's be honest. It should be a mortal wound. I am also torn as to whether or not removing/changing psychic tests is a good or bad change. On one hand, it certainly simplifies the rolling process. Having things either automatically occur or occur on a 2+ is a lot easier than rolling 2d6 and then consulting each individual cast rule to see if you passed it or not. On the other hand, the 2d6 system really differentiates psychic abilities from aura abilities and commands or litanies. Yeah, exactly, yeah. It also, for me, when you were doing things like, you know, you have to roll a certain amount of dice to get something off, it meant that the more powerful things felt like you were really charging something up if you were throwing a lot of dice at it, right, you know? I think that's one of the things that 7th edition psychic tests, the psychic phase, was really, really, really fun for. I loved playing Grey Knight and having 30, 40, 50 dice to throw, and seeing my opponent has like 6, and I'm like, you know, it's just such a power move. You're like, yeah, well, I'm going to do my psychic phase now, you know. While I agree that it should go away, because, you know, there should never be a point of the battle where nobody's doing anything, unless it's your turn, of course, but, like, you shouldn't both get a phase where the other person simply can't do anything. Yeah, you know, I agree with that, and I agree with spreading things out. I'm with you, actually. I agree with spreading things out over the game, that's fine, but I do think something has lost from the personality of psychic attacks if we're just saying, this Witchfire attack, you know, hits on a 3+ or a 2+, right? It's much more simplified, and I like that, but it also means, hey, you know, we're sort of losing a bit of the charm of psychic stuff as well. Now, I don't mind things like Smite not being mortal wounds if, and it's a big if, most things that are dedicated with Smite, as in Grey Knights and Purifiers especially, they're allowed to do more wounds, or they're allowed to smite more than once. That would be a good balance, okay? One thing I am afraid of, and I think it might happen, because they don't like Grey Knights, I don't know why, is that we will get to the point where Grey Knights are on the table, and we will be rolling, you know, 1d6 for every smite on a table, and it'll do a certain amount of normal wounds, right? Which is technically a nerf from what it was last time, because we were doing mortal wounds and now we're not. So I think we'll just have that taken away from us as Grey Knights and Thousand Suns players and things like that. That'll just be taken away from us to try and balance the game out a little bit. It won't be replaced with something equally cool, right? We're just going to lose it. I would say, hey, if you take Purifiers, your smites now cast, you know, they now do 2 damage instead of 1, that kind of thing. That's what I would do. But hey, what do I know? My biggest gripe, he says, with the new system is the homogenization of all Psyker models into having the same ability is kind of a letdown. I go from having 3 casters with individual backstories and abilities, and now they all pretty much do the same thing. Hopefully 10th edition will take a page out of Age of Sigmar and allow each Psyker to select 1 additional power from a specific discipline. Either way, I am super pumped for the new edition. That is a tremendous, tremendous message, mate. You've laid out your point, you've laid out your issues, and you've laid out how you would see it changed. Good, and I agree with everything you've said. Okie dokie. A lot of people waiting for the codexes. No problem. Okay. Kaiser says, I'm quite excited for 10th. Been a bit of a meh with 9th edition, and quite a while since I played a game of 9th. Mainly playing Kill Team at the moment, for several reasons, not just the meh feeling of 9th, more due to circumstance. But I'm eager to try out 10th for myself. It's looking good, especially with the reset and vehicles seeming a lot more actually viable, but I mainly just want to try the game out a bit before any strong stances or before I jump to any conclusions. Regardless, looking forward to it, and hopefully it'll be a catalyst to get me back into playing 40k more regularly. I think that's the way a lot of people are looking at 10th now. They're looking at it as their reset button, you know, their reset time, where they can come in and say, hey, here's where we are now, here's what I want to do, and I'm gonna give this edition a chance. I do recommend that every single one of you give the edition a chance. Just give it a go, see what happens, right? You're going to learn nothing by just, you know, listening to people on Reddit bitch and whine about certain rules. Get the game, play it for yourself, and come to your own conclusions. That's my advice, definitely. Definitely. Rio LU fan, 224, says, I'm happy for my Black Dragons, Salamanders, and Gene Stealers, but greatly worried about my Psyker armies. Me too. They literally haven't said jack shit since Warhammer Fest, and they didn't actually give any word for Thousand Suns and Grey Knights. I'm greatly annoyed at it, and it's caused me slight anxiety. I feel one of them should have been on show by now, considering the fact Psycho Phase is getting removed entirely, and showing off those two would be a great idea to showcase the changes, and better than the Eldar or Nids, in my opinion. I do think so as well. I think showcasing one of those would have been a great way to say, hey, here's how the psychic stuff is going to work from now on, because, you know, Thousand Suns and Grey Knights are the poster boys for psychic stuff, you know. I know people say Eldar are, I don't agree. Eldar are good at many other things aside from psychic stuff. Thousand Suns and Grey Knights, their entire lists are built on slapping people in the face with your mind. That's what they're there for. They're there to smite things and smite them royally until they're not on the table anymore. So it would have been a really good, way of showcasing those psychic tests by using those two armies. I don't think there's anything too, shall we say, bad, you know. What else would the word be? Not indicative. Sinister. I don't think there's anything too sinister about them not showing Thousand Suns and Grey Knights. I will say that. I don't think they're sitting there going, oh my god, we've ruined Thousand Suns and Grey Knights. For God's sake, don't show them those rules. Just let them get out there nice and quietly, and we can all just be happy, live happily ever after. I don't think it's that way. I think they're showing Eldar and Tyranids because, well, Tyranids are coming in the box, number one, and Eldar are one of the poster boys of 40k a lot more than Thousand Suns and Grey Knights, so they're using them to showcase the Psychic rules. I have been told reliably by several people that I respect the opinions of that Eldar look like they're completely busted in the new edition, as in way overpowered. I don't know that yet. I'll need to read them for myself. That might be the next showcase that we do, because that would be pretty cool to look over that. Maybe I'll do that one tomorrow. But anyway. 10th made me drop the game. Okay, Flathead, okay. I stuck around until 9th. Now, with them changing the edition every 3 years, it has become an investment I am simply no longer willing to take. Also, all the talk about streamlining and the bestest and most accessible edition ever rings quite a few alarm bells. Admittedly, some stuff doesn't look that bad, but I've been around the block enough to know where this is going. Well, explain yourself. Where do you think it's going? Why is it ringing alarm bells for you? Is it ringing alarm bells because they're going to neuter the game, neuter the rules? I don't know, right? So explain yourself. Number two, I get what you mean with the new edition every 3 years. I'm with you on that one. Okay, nickel and diming your audience is a really good way to drive them off to different games. I'm completely with you on that one, Flathead. No problem. So I totally agree with 50% of you. I probably agree with the rest of it if you explained yourself a little bit more. But hey, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, nickel and diming people every few years is a great way to drive off your audience. I agree. AdultWolf says, didn't play 9th, and I'm even less excited for 10th. So all the negative stuff is at the end. Look at that. I don't get the need to constantly change the game and conditions hard resets and continuous hard resets when they make certain codices too powerful versus others. I've gone back to playing 7th edition as the armies I play/play against are all balanced against each other and there's no problems. I also get my armor values and blast templates back. Well, there you go. I think that's one of the main things that I think I don't mind is people going back and saying, hey, I'm just going back to 7th edition. Screw this. Screw y'all. I'm going home. Right? That's fine. The problem is that there will be no tournaments with him in, and there'll be no. You can't play it in Games Workshop. Now, if I saw somebody playing 7th in my store, I wouldn't care. But most Games Workshops will not let you play a previous edition of 40k in their store. Don't ask me why. They just won't. Technically because they don't sell it. They won't let you play anything that they don't sell on the shelf. Which is bullshit because I was told not to play Blood Bowl in my store, despite selling fucking Blood Bowl right there on the shelf next to me. Go figure. But it is what it is. The codex is being too powerful versus others. We know that's coming. We know that's coming, and that's why I'm trying to warn people who are coming into 40k now, straight away. This is going to be their first big edition. Do expect this. And my own groups will be remaining without codexes, you know, unless you do one-off games against each other. But my own campaigns and leagues and stuff will always have, if they've got the Northern Exile branding on them, they will always have no codexes. You know, it'll always be the data slates that you get right at the start of 10th edition. That's what we're using going forwards, right? So that's what we're going to be doing. But I understand why you're not that excited about 10th. And you know, fatigue is something that has to be understood, you know. These are people who spend a lot of money and time on something that takes a lot of energy. It just does. And if you get to the point where you've just had enough, dude, I can't blame you. I cannot blame you, you know. Mortis says, 20 plus years into the hobby, only played 7th and 8th and the first year of 9th. I am not interested in playing 10th. My friend group are making our own homebrew 7th, 8th edition rules to play with. Had enough of these rules, bloat. That always happens, and the codex creep and cost to opt in. Big pass from me. Completely with you on that one as well. I have for the longest time wanted to do a scratch edition of 40k, like for the channel, doing a full edition of Warhammer 40k that fits onto like 3 sheets of paper. And it's a scratch edition with blast templates and all that other fun stuff. That's actually, you know, you can actually use your blast templates and all this other stuff. And doing it that way. That is a completely viable way to play 40k, by the way. It is your hobby. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to play 10th or you're not a part of the hobby. People literally say that, and it drives me up the fucking wall. Don't say that to people. They bought their models, they paid their money, they can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to melt down their army into a single piece of sludge and throw it out of a window, that is up to them. Their hobby, their rules, right? And hobby is about finding like-minded people to play toy soldiers with, essentially. So if you do that, you're doing the hobby correctly. That's it. So I congratulate you, Mortis, and I wish you the best of luck in writing your own mixture of 7th and 8th edition rules. Nobody says, the problem is not the rule set. Every rule set has started out okay. Some more or less so. It's Games Workshop's way of monetizing the game that keeps disrupting it over and over and over again. Think back to the start of 8th edition. Great. Everybody had fun. Then slowly the codexes came out, getting more and more bloated because each book had to trump the last. Same thing with 9th, and it's going to repeat with 10th as well. Those of you who know my channel will know I have been singing the same song as nobody for a long time, right? I have been singing this song for a long time. I've been trying to warn people that's what the new edition's going to do. They're going to bring it out, and the first few months will be great. Everybody will love 10th edition. Everybody will kiss GW's arse, and then because they've got some goodwill in the bank, they bring out the first codexes that aren't too bad. You know, the Space Marines will be one of them, quite balanced, and then eventually you'll get that one codex that breaks the edition. In 8th, it was Imperial Guard. They came out and completely curb-stomped the edition. And since then, they reined in the rules a little bit with Imperial Guard, but then the next edition had to keep up with them, and the next codex, sorry, had to keep up with them. The next one had to keep up with that, and away and away and away we go. And if you had a codex that came out early in that edition, hello Grey Knights, you were fucked. You were fucked, because you have a nicely balanced codex, but 80% of the codexes in that edition now are broken as fuck. Great. You know, that's exactly how 9th edition went, and that's exactly how 10th edition is going to go. I just hope that Grey Knights are for once, are the edition, or the codex that breaks the edition, if that's the way we're going, right? It won't be, though. It'll be some other, it'll be some random faction. It'll be like Necrons or something, I don't know. That completely break the edition, and then every single codex after that has to keep up with the Joneses, right? It has to keep up as we're going along, and that's what we're gonna see. Unfortunately, it's on its way. It's on its way. Noble Gallifreyan says, I expect people will like it at launch, but it will degenerate. It will degenerate as codexes come out. People will cry about the codex creep, and we will see a reset in a year or two. People haven't stopped to consider leaving 40k. Well, I think they are. I think there are quite a lot of people, even on here, who are considering quite viably leaving 40k and not coming back, you know? And I don't blame them either. I literally cannot blame them. Do we have any other, just in case I've missed it, do we have any others who have come in? Oh, we do. We do. Chris Cook says, I'm worried about the stuff being dumbed down or going away. Inquisitorial henchmen, for example. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the same points coming up over and over and over again, so I'm going to leave that there for now. I'm choosing to be optimistic about the new edition. I know a lot of you, I'm very surprised, a lot of you are very, very, very happy with the new edition, but there are at least half of you that are commenting on my videos, who are wanting to have your say, who are saying, look, this isn't for me. And there's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. If it's not for you, you are completely within your rights to go away and do your own edition of 40k, get your own rules, play a previous edition. That's all up to you. I would hope one day that Games Workshop see the light and actually get with the times and get with the program and start actually giving us value for money in terms of our box sets, number one, but our rules as well. Our rules need to be free, right? The rules to play the game should be free. They just should be. It just is what it is. They should be free. The models cost enough. And some of these model sets, by the way, are priced in an absurdly offensive way. I will get into that this week as well. Maybe early next week. But some of these box set prices that I've been seeing from things from Age of Sigmar are a fucking disgrace. And I will get into them a bit later on, okay? Anyway, love you all long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. Tuesday next week, we'll be doing our big old interview with different hobby store managers, where they're going to be telling us quite how Games Workshop treats them going forwards. That's going to be a rant and a half, I think. Anyway, big Hobby Nightmare tomorrow. Should be a fun one. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Have a good one. Bye.